Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of J Dubs Aquatics. Got a great video for you today. Topic today is how to frag. But first I need to give a big shout out to my boy Mike Haynes from Mass Aquariums. He suggested that I do a video on how to frag zoanthids, so I'm going to do that today. And I'm also going to do a series, and each type of coral that I frag will be a different video. So in the first video I'm also going to cover some safety aspects and talk about the different types of tools that you'll need to successfully frag corals safely. So I also want to take a minute to say, Willie D, if you're watching this, you are a piece of trash, you are the scum of the earth, and you should be ashamed of yourself. We all know what happened with him and Mike Haynes from Mass Aquariums. Mike is somebody that I talk to on a regular basis outside of YouTube, and I consider a close personal friend. And I can't believe somebody would stab him in the back like that. But I guess people like that are out there, so just be careful who you send your money to. So, this video is dedicated to Mike, and I'm going to be sending a bunch of these frags to him when I'm done. So, show some love in the hobby, show some support to somebody you know. And don't be a weirdo. Alright, so before we start actually fragging, I want to talk about some of the tools and safety equipment that you'll need to successfully frag your corals safely. Now, what I use here for hand protection is just some standard latex gloves. They're a bit thicker, and the thicker ones are definitely better at keeping things from poking through. There's a lot of sharp things, vermitid snails and things like that on your rocks and corals that could puncture through, so I like the thicker ones. Otherwise you can just use a cheap thin latex gloves or whatever, but get the powder free ones I recommend. Then we have some eye protection, and it's very important that you use a form of eye protection. I use these ridiculous goggles because they put a seal around my eyes and a guarantee that I am not going to get paletoxin or something like that in my eyes and potentially go blind, which absolutely can happen. So if you're fragging paleys or zoos, that's one thing specifically that you need to be extremely careful with. Make sure you wear your gloves and make sure you wear your eye protection, because paletoxin is very, very deadly. So that's basically it for safety equipment. Then I just have a towel for wiping up little spills and whatnot. Here we have some rubber bands, and these are great for soft corals, especially things like leathers and Kenya trees that don't really glue down so well. So I use those to rubber band them to a plug or a rock. Here we have a scalpel with a brand new blade. I always use a fresh blade. Here I just have a pair of forceps with the curved tips, and then I have a pair of scissors, and each one has a different purpose for, they're all useful for different things. One thing I also need to get is a pair of coral bone cutters for cutting SPS and LPS corals, and otherwise this is basically a pretty good fragging kit for a beginner. A couple other things you're going to need are some frag plugs or some rubble rock, whatever you prefer to use for your frags. Each one to me has a different purpose. I like to use things like this flat one for green star polyp and bigger paley frags and stuff like that. If I have just some small zo frags, some smaller SPS, I like to use ones like this. Although this one here is not my favorite, it's kind of the smoother one. I find that these, the ones here with the rougher surface actually work a lot better, and the corals take to them a bit faster. So I strongly prefer the rougher feeling ones. Then you're going to need some type of glue. This is just a bulk reef supply coral glue. It dries and cures underwater, so it's necessary to glue your frags down. And then once fragging is done, I always use a coral disinfectant reef dip, and I prefer the Seachem brand. This has always worked well for me, and this is just an iodine based dip. It's going to help prevent things like infections, you know, bacteria and protozoans, things like that, from getting into your corals and causing problems. That's it. That's about all the equipment and stuff, so let's get started fragging some zoos. Alright, so I have a couple colonies of zoos back here that I'm going to take a few heads off of and send to my boy Mike Haynes from Mass Aquariums. So there's a small colony of fire and ice zoos right here, and this one in particular doesn't have any loose polyps that are just kind of hanging off, flapping around in the flow. So what I'm going to do with this one is actually get my equipment out. I'm going to take this one out and do the fragging over here on my little fragging table. And back here I have another colony of zoos, and as you can see there's a couple polyps that are loose, just flapping in the flow back there. So what I'm going to do is reach in the tank with my scissors. I'm going to turn off the pumps so everything stops blowing around, and then I'm going to carefully reach in there with the scissors and just do a quick snip, and I won't have to even unglue that frag off of the tanks, off the rock. Can't even talk. Alright, now I turned off the blues in my LEDs on this side so you can see things a bit better. And hopefully you can get a good view as I'm doing this, but I am going to have to put the phone down after I cut it to actually catch the zoo from falling down. So I'm just going to reach in here with my scissors and kind of get them to close up. And I can feel that down here there's a nice place where I'm not going to cut into any polyp. And actually, I didn't even really have to cut, it just pulled right off. So now I'm going to grab those, and I should be using gloves for this, shame on me, but that one's done. Got a nice 3 polyp frag from Mike. So I'm going to get ready to put that one on a plug, and I'll get the fire and ice zoos out and we'll do a frag of those. Alright, so I'm gloving up. I'm going to do my best to keep this in view of the camera here, as I do have to do this without holding the camera. So, we've got our colony of zoos here, and sorry, I'm not really looking at the camera while I'm doing this. I'm just looking for a nice spot where the zoos have easy access to not cut through the flesh of any of the polyps. And what you want to cut through is the thin growth for the new heads. So that's what I'm looking for, and hopefully I can find a nice spot here to get a couple of heads off of here for Mike. It's looking to me like this little patch right here of about 4 heads, if I make a nice cut, sorry, this is going to be a terrible video. If I make a nice cut right here, it will come right off. So, here we go. And then take your blade, and you want to actually cut at the coral frag plug a bit. You don't want to cut the bottom of the polyp. That's what will kill it. So again, try to kind of cut into the frag plug and actually pull away a tiny bit of the base of the plug instead of actually cutting through the polyp of the zoos. So here we go. I've got a nice little frag for you. Sorry if the whole video was blocked. Alright, so that clip didn't work out so well. Sorry the footage sucked, but anyway, you get the gist of it. I basically ran out of glue at the end there too, so I had to sit there and shake the bottle for about 3 minutes to get anything out of it. But anyway, you just put a very, very small dab of glue, you really don't need much at all, on the frag plug, and take your colony of zoos, of course with your gloves on, and find the bottom of it. Make sure you're not putting the head in the glue, because you don't want any of the polyps to be covered in glue and not be able to open up, otherwise they will die. Yeah, and then you just stick the bottom of the zoos into the glue and let it sit for a couple of minutes, and it dries up. Zoos can handle being out of water for quite a while, so that's not an issue. Oftentimes in nature they're exposed for multiple hours at a time, so No big rush when you're fragging them. And then over here we have the little frag of the Fire and Ice Zoes. And there's like 5 or 6 heads on here. Some of them are bigger, some are smaller. It's the same thing. You just want to be very careful not to get any of the glue on the top of the heads, because that will kill them and they won't be able to open up. And otherwise you just set it right in the dab of glue and you're good to go. Let it dry for a couple minutes and these should heal up within a week or so. So that's how you frag zoanthids. Make sure you use your safety equipment, your eye protection, and safety goggles. Well, that's all I got today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Happy fish keeping.